Hi guys, Ren here. If you follow my Strava account, then you probably know that today was the first day that I actually took my new time trial bike outside. I've also shown you the build video a couple of days ago, and now I have some first impressions, but that's not what I want to talk about. You see, when I sold my old time trial bike, I was really not sure which bike to get next, and since this track even though it's a very good, very nice design, it has been around for quite a while, and I was a bit afraid that it might get replaced quite soon, because track usually do 4-year model cycles. So yeah, there's a very good chance that this is going to be obsolete in July, when they launch something new at the Tour de France, although I haven't seen any spy shots or anything of the team bikes. They'll still use this generation, so maybe it won't. But anyway, I was looking at some other options, and in this video I'm going to explain and go through all of the bikes that I have been looking at, and why did I get this one at the end. So one of the reasons was the fit. I'm not a very tall rider, and with TT bikes your main problem when you're short is stack, because if you want to have a really good aero position, then you want your back to be completely horizontal, and that's hard to achieve when a bike has a lot of stack. This one is a size small, so basically the smallest size track makes, and I'm actually above the recommended weight, height range, but still this is the one to get from me. They also make an extra small version. I think that would fit me as well, because they have plenty of reach. But again, you need that low stack, and that's what you get with the smaller sizes. But the extra small is only built on special order and uses 650C wheels, so yeah, that's not very practical. Anyway, I've ridden this bike. It feels much better than the size medium I've had before. My position is now perfect, very aero, very comfortable, and one of the reasons why I kept this bike, it's one of the very few fully integrated time trial bikes on the market that's still compatible with a mechanical group set. Now, you may think that it's nothing special, but actually it's extremely rare if you look at other bikes from this segment. And Trek have actually very elaborate cable routing systems. Basically, that's true for all of their bikes. So if you take the Boon Cross bike or the Madone 9, many manufacturers are stepping away from supporting mechanical group sets, but I like my 1x11 Red 22, and it's perfect for my time trialing, so I really wanted to keep that. And yeah, I wouldn't really want to make an extra investment of going for another set of ETAP. Plus this setup, I think nowadays people are getting a bit spoiled by the electronic systems, and no one would really want to buy it at a decent price. But anyway, that's a bit off topic. If you notice that my bike isn't completely built up yet, so I'm still waiting for proper carbon seat posts with setback. Again, the Trek frame has a lot of options on that. You can choose 6 different stems, 4 different seat posts, and 4 different kinds of extensions. My elbow pad is custom, but the stock one is very widely adjustable as well. This bike is also fully UCI legal, so yeah, with the rise of triathlon and triathlon specific bikes, that's another thing that's quite quite rare. It's becoming quite rare because very few people are actually buying time trial bikes nowadays. It's kind of a specialist group, not very lucrative for the manufacturers, and in the end they aren't upgraded that often. If you already have one, then yeah, that's a good thing, because it won't get obsolete. But yeah, there's not much progress in this sense. This bike was launched in 2013-14, so yeah, that has been a while ago. What other bikes have and this bike doesn't, and it's a bit frustrating. Well, the one thing for me is the base bar. It's a 42 centimeter base bar. There is no narrower option, and it feels like driving a truck basically. When I'm switching from this very narrow Aerobar or the pad position to the cow horns here, it just feels extremely unnatural, and it's even more amplified by the fact that my road bike has 40 centimeter bars. I would go even narrower if I could, but it's integrated. So yeah, that would be a change that would really come in handy. I think even 38 would suffice, because yeah, it's meant to be aerodynamic, so why not? You don't need all that leverage, you're not sprinting on this one. Then other bikes also have kind of different bends of the base bar. So the Canyon, for example, has an option for a downward sloping base bar, or the BMC as well. And that's again quite important if you're a short rider and have or want to have very low stack, because I have found that it doesn't really work when you have your pads with zero stack and slammed all the way to the base bar, because then these two positions are very close, and having your base bar high up is not very good for stability on descents and cornering in general. So I'd like to have the base bar as low as it can possibly be for that lower center of gravity, lower drag when in the upright position. And yeah, it's just generally a nicer feeling when handling. It's more like being in the drops instead of being on the hoods on a regular bike. Yeah, so this is one of the features that I don't like. Otherwise, one of the reasons why I wanted to stay with this bike is I know it extremely well by now. So basically every nut, a little bolt, every adjustment, I have that all dialed, and everything basically just works. You know, the brakes are quite easily adjustable. They have good modulation, good power, quite easy to install and maintain. The Canyon, for example, I've already mentioned, has some more modern features. For example, a rubber cover in here that's more practical. So yeah, also some bikes nowadays have integrated grips, although it's not much of an issue here. I have this nice little gripper tape instead of bar tape. And another issue I have with track bikes is bottom bracket. Now, if you take proper care of it, then it just works like every other bottom bracket. What I don't like about it is the BB90 is the only standard on the market that actually physically doesn't fit a 30mm axle, so it kind of limits compatibility. But I've already had a GXP style crank, so it wasn't really an issue. Another feature that more modern bikes have, this one doesn't, is a removable derailleur hanger. So yeah, it's a bit of a hindrance with one by setup, but it's nothing major. On this newer frame, it's not even bonded to from carbon to the frame itself, so it could potentially be removed when you drill away these rivets. but I think it's still bonded to the frame, so I didn't want to mess around with that. Also, it doesn't come with a carbon seat post as standard, so I had to order that separately, and it's a bit of a harsh ride. You can imagine if you have this much section in aluminum, it's not going to flex very well. But yeah, other than that, nothing really comes to my mind that will be a huge downside to this bike. Perhaps it could also have horizontal dropouts, so you can dial that wheel clearance in. This is a pretty wide tire on this super wide head disc. It's measuring more than 27 millimeters, and it doesn't really fit the gap very well despite that, so a horizontal dropout will definitely make it a touch better. Yeah, so these are the things that I would change and that I like on the track bike. Now let's look at some other frame sets that I was looking at as options. So my first consideration was the Factor Slick, which is a very fresh design, so that's a definite plus. It has a nice modular Aerobar design, integrated brakes, all the good stuff you might imagine, also free flow forks and rear stays, so totally modern bike. Also removable derailleur hanger, oversized bottom bracket, so that's all ticks. Plus Factor have been looking for some sponsored athletes, so I applied to that, but in the end they didn't give me a response, so that's a shame because I really wanted to try this one out. And one major drawback of this bike is that it doesn't support mechanical group sets, so I would have to buy a complete E-type group set plus a different set of cranks, a different bottom bracket, and I couldn't have used my custom arm pad, so in the end the build will turn out to be a lot more expensive and too expensive in this case, so I decided to sit this one out. Another candidate was the S-Works Shiv TT, but I quickly binned this because it's a design, even though a very good one, good geometry, but I think the cavemen had drawings of this bike in their caves because it's so old. It just, I don't know, I don't understand why Specialized haven't replaced it yet, so I decided to skip this one as well. Then following the Canyon, I've also had a Canyon here previously for a service. I've worked on that. It's a totally modern bike again, very nice features. As I mentioned earlier, it has the baseball option that I always wanted, and it also has a proper geometry, everything integrated very nicely, very fast bike overall, quite light as well, good ride quality. But a major drawback here, again, no compatibility with mechanical drivetrains, no frame only option, even though the value is fairly good. When you buy it as a complete bike, I would need to go through the hassle of selling all the parts that I don't want, and Canyon aren't exactly known for shipping their bikes spot on time, and my time trials are getting quite close. I didn't want to risk that. So yeah, a combination of these factors led me away from this bike as well. Then I was also looking at the Cervelo. The main problem with this bike is that it's not a specifically designed time trial bike. It's sort of a triathlon time trial bike combination. The result of that is the geometry is a bit too tall in the head tube. So again, I couldn't have gotten the low stack I wanted. Plus, with the UCI legal version, the front end looks a bit cluttered and not a very clean setup. So plus the price also is Cervelo high, and that doesn't help the case either. Then looking at the BMC, one of my favorites. I think it's easy to see why. A super well-designed time trial bike, very good cockpit, good geometry, super fast, removable derailleur hanger, horizontal dropouts, all things I would have wanted. The problem here, again, no compatibility with mechanical drivetrains, plus enormous price. This frame set would cost more than my complete bike as it sits right now, so I decided to not go for that one. Plus, in the frame set version, you can't order the exact specification that you want. You only get a preset, and everything else you want to change, you have to buy that separately, so that just adds to the very high price. So in the end, yeah, that's probably a no. Then going further, Argon 18. This bike, not the newest of designs, although the geometry might have worked or would have worked, but I have a Canyon bike in my customer base, and I just can't stand the stupid marketing logos on it and the paint jobs. So yeah, I really I really didn't want to get this one either. Then finally, one of the best options I have found was the Giant Trinity Pro Time Trial. So advantages: very good price, very good value, compatibility with mechanical, good adjustability at the front end, of course World Championship pedigree, you can't forget that, horizontal dropouts, removable hanger, very good adjustability, good aerodynamics, everything you'd want. The problem for me here was the availability. So in order to get the low stack I wanted, I would need to get an extra small frame, and unfortunately that wouldn't have been available by the time I needed it. So it's a bit of a shame. I really like the look of this bike, but perhaps next time. So in the end, yeah, I stuck to the track. I already had all the parts for it, barring some minor details which will arrive next week. And yeah, it's got quite good financially as well, because I have a brand new bike and still I saved a whole lot of cash which is left after the old bike, after being sold. So I'm happy with how it rides, sorry. I'm happy with the position, so hopefully we'll get some good results together. Okay, so this was my time trialing tour. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see more information about the bikes that I use and their setups, then don't forget to tune into the channel and subscribe. It's all for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.